All right, guys, this is a little project that I've been looking forward to for a while. I put it off to a weekend because it's probably going to take a while to come up with a way to figure out how to open this thing. This is yet another lock from Leif in Sweden. He's almost single-handedly supporting the lock lab with interesting things to pick. He has a little letter, and he says that this design actually dates from the medieval times, but this lock, based on the materials and the tool marks, is probably 100 or less. I don't know. I've never seen anything quite like this. It's almost like a pistol, right? Anyway, how does it work? And I don't know. There's a hinge pin here, and it looks like that thing just kind of swings open on the hinge pin. But as I played with this a little bit, I mean, there should be some movement, and there's absolutely no movement whatsoever right there at that gap. You can see there's a break in materials, but it doesn't move at all. I mean, nothing. Doesn't jiggle back and forth that way. No movement at all. Now, I did notice in here, looks like there's a bunch of paint up inside of there. Maybe it's painted closed, but I can't imagine Leif didn't open this thing before he sent it, because he does, or did, have a key. I now have the key wrapped up in this little plastic keep out bag. And the last line of his letter says, if you can get into this 10 minutes or less, I will buy you a beer. But yeah, I don't want to rush into, I don't want to get this fun over with too quickly. So rather than just try to force this thing, and I could probably drive that pin out, but I think that would constitute destructive opening. So how does this guy work? Well, you can see the shape of the key. So there's a little, obviously round, and there's a little leg there. And when I look down in there, even with a pretty powerful flashlight, I really can't see the bottom. So I think it's time to crack out the lock cam. So let's see if we can't get in there. So let me get this guy kind of lined up. I'm going to hold it so that the peg is on the very top. Let me rotate this so that we're all even, and let's get the sync down. So we got, all right, everything is kind of lined up, I think. That's pretty close. Let's go into the cave of darkness. All right, so what do we got? All right, there's something in the very bottom, way back there. It's almost like a rat tunnel. All right, I'll try to hold this still. All right, so we have what appears to be a shaft in the center. Let me get up here close. I'm going to try to focus so we can get an idea on how big that... Whoa. That is some ugly machine mark on the end of that. It looks like it was ground off on a rock or a piece of concrete. And it also doesn't appear round. It appears kind of oval. So probably hand ground. Yeah. All right, so let's look in the back, see if I can get this thing to focus on the back. All right, I can't go any further because of that post, but I think I can shove it up just right about, that's as far as it will go. So let's look closely. Again, you see a lot of really rough machines marking on this lock all the way around, but I don't see any off chambers. I don't see any levers hanging out, no buttons, no secret doors, nothing in there. So let's get on around to the other side. I do see a cutout right there, and I can see something inside of the cutout. I don't know quite what that is. That might be a spring. You see just a reflection in the middle of the cutout. Anyway, so here's what we got to do. We got to figure out how to get a key that will take in account that center shaft, and then a little knob that will somehow go in there and perhaps even depress that plunger or spring, and then maybe we can turn this guy out. It doesn't look to be that complex. So here's what my plan is. I'd already picked out a piece of brass thinking I would have to make a key of some kind. I didn't have it quite big enough. But what I think we can do, one end of it is already cut down. So you can see when I get the center shaft cut down about the same diameter as that center hole, there's a little bit of extra hanging over the edge there. What I'm going to do is drill a hole down the center and then machine everything off the same diameter as the center and leave a little extra hanging off, file it off and leave a little peg hanging out, and then cut a little notch that'll allow us to fit into that little cutout in the back. And if that doesn't work, I have a more complex and, of course, much more time-consuming. Either way, I don't think I'll get this done in 10 minutes, but let's give it a shot. Let's head for the lathe. All right, guys, I have already blown my 10 minutes, so there will be no beer reward, but I did get the shaft turned to the perfect diameter. I did file this until I gave myself a little tooth, and it does fit perfectly. You'll notice I just have a center hole right there. I need to drill that shaft, or the hole for that shaft, so it'll slide down, and then when I do this, I suddenly realize when that impales itself on the shaft after I get that hole, this may very well be too short. I believe it was right in here somewhere. So this is going to be a huge, huge key. I may have to drill a hole and put a bolt in there to extend this. We'll find out. Next step, I am going to try to match the hole size here to the post that's inside of there. So I'll drill a hole that I believe is probably too small. I'll try it, and I'll just keep trying sequentially larger drills until this slips down onto that center post. Then we'll worry about grinding that little tooth. Then I guess I'll figure out if I need to extend this. We'll try it. Let's see what happens. All right, I went ahead and drilled that. It now fit perfectly, and after I got it, I chamfered that just so it kind of fits on just a little bit smoother. Now we have another problem, because when I slide it all the way in, you can see that, yeah, I cut it a little bit short. So I need to find a way, to, first of all, to get that out of there. Secondly, to extend this, probably by drilling a hole, tapping maybe a nut or something in there to just extend it another couple inches. Honking long key, man. All right, guys, here's what I came up with to lengthen that. It almost looks like I planned it this way, but I didn't. Leif is a Swedish guy, Swedish lock. I decided to use a Swedish key made by Assa Abloy. I cut the bitting off and basically drilled a hole. Got a little set screw holding it in there, so kind of extend it. So it covers up for my ignorance in measuring. On the end of it, all I did is I filed this off until we have like a little post. I have no idea if that's going to be long enough or even narrow enough to fit inside of there. But let's try it. All right, we are still locked, unless it miraculously fell open for me. Okay, line up with the hole. There we go. So all the way in. And I'm just kind of jiggling here until I'm trying to figure out. It felt like it slipped into the notch. Nothing. Try to shove it a little harder, maybe. I may have to... Oh, wait a minute. This is moving. Yeah. That... Oh my God, it took me 3 hours, 3+ hours to figure out a screw. Yeah. Man, oh man. How ingenious. I mean, they made turning that bolt extra complex, didn't they? Oh, it's just threaded on the end of there. There probably was a nut of some kind. They welded it on there. So when you turn this, it just drives the screw into that nut, holding it in place. And let's see if I can get this guy back out. No big secret to this guy. I mean, I know it took me 3+ hours, but it's just a unique little, well, there's that post that you have to go that apparently was welded to the head of the nut. So you have to have a post hole, and then a little groove was cut into the nut. So that is the only way you're going to get that nut to turn, is finding something that will fit down inside that little groove. So that's what the key, well, that's what my key looks like. Let's see what the real key looks like. Oh, that was pretty, theirs is a little more rustic, but kind of the same thing. My post could have been a little longer. I've heard that line before. Anyway, guys, there you go. Ancient medieval style lock from Sweden. Thank you, Leif. Appreciate you sending this in. Everybody else, stay safe, stay legal, and thanks for watching. A screw. That is all it is a screw. That is all it is a screw. Man, what do they come up with next? That's better than I...